My name is Keith Andrew, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. It is episode 781. That's right, episode 781. Make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Keith Andrew Network. Watch the expanded library of the Keith Andrew Network, now featuring the X Zone and Life of a Fighter. Today on the Keith Andrew Network, we have upcoming professional actress, comedian, and who's running for mayor of New York City in 21, Stacey Prussman. And let's jump right into it. Question I want to ask you is tell our audience a little bit about your background and how you came to do what you do now.
I'm a born and raised native New Yorker, and I been involved in politics since I'm young. I was involved with voter registration as a teenager, and then again, years later, when I helped register people to vote for head count. And I've been an activist both with animals and mental health, and a speaker and a stand-up comedian.
No, absolutely. And I'm very honored and privileged to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Keith.
No, the honor's all mine. And now, the other question I want to ask you is, you mentioned you are an actress, comedian, and you're running for mayor of New York City. And the last one I saw is you said radio. So are you a radio host or?
Yes, I've been doing a podcast, and I've been a host on 2 different radio stations in the past, and I've been a guest on many different radio stations. So I guess I'm a radio host as well.
Well, if you're interested, I would love to be a guest on your show.
Sure. We do the show called the Pressman Hour. We do it every Monday at 3:00, and we do it live. And then it's on Radio Misfits Podcast Network, and then it's on YouTube and where all podcasts are found.
No, that's absolutely amazing. Now, let's start with the big elephant in the room is with everything going on with quarantine, do you think it can be handled better? And for the record, Blasio and Chris Cuomo are freaking idiots. There's absolutely no reason for them to open up the states. And it's kind of like they're giving everyone mixed signals. It's like, okay, everything's open. You can go and do whatever, but you still have to, of course, wear a mask and social distance. So the question I want to ask you is, because you're running for mayor, do you think he can do a better job handling the situation that we're in?
Yes, absolutely, Keith. That's a great question, because right now we have been opening and closing. Everything's haphazard. It hasn't been a steady move. I understand the numbers go up, they go down, but a lot of the openings, they don't make sense. For instance, like my gym had been open, but the restaurants weren't even open at 25% capacity. Now they're at 30%, I believe. But that being said, I had a whole plan on how to end the lockdown safely with a grading system, 1 through 5. So if you had been a number 5, you would be doing everything in your power to keep your employees and the customers safe. And number 1 would be that you didn't do anything. So it'd be like the grading system we have for food. That we have health grading systems in New York, A, B, C, D. And if you do a C or D, you kind of close. So we're going to do the same thing for restaurants and other facilities.
Oh, absolutely. I do have some more questions about that. So what would be your plan for running for mayor of 2021?
In terms of the ending the lockdowns?
Yes.
Well, I'd implement my grading system. I would open places up that adhere to social distancing, mask rules, and whatnot. I want to end some zoning laws so businesses could thrive and go into spaces that maybe were once residential or once office spaces, and now they can be businesses, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things going on in the city right now. Between the transit system needs to be repaired, the way it runs, how inefficient it's been. I'd like to add more bus lines in certain districts, in certain areas. Like express buses would be great because they're inexpensive to do and very effective. No, so I have a lot of different plans. There's a lot of different angles of what I need to do as mayor in the city of New York right now.
No, I agree with you. You know, where I live, I'm like an hour and a half away, you know, upstate New York. And, you know, it's important to wear a mask. But, you know, if you're out in a public place, you should always wear a mask. And I give you an example. I go to ShopRite every day with my dad, and they always tell you over the PA system, they'll follow directions, go up and down aisles, but people don't care. That's the biggest problem is, you know, you people just don't care, and they think, you know, it's a big hoax or anything. Or if you're one of those people who say, oh, you know, it's fake news. But, you know, it's like one of those things where if you don't take it seriously, I give you an example. When someone said, if we did everything right in January, you know, stayed home, you know, social distance, we wouldn't be in a situation where we are right now.
I agree with you 100%. If we would have nipped it in the butt to begin with, the reason why we wear masks is like, let's say you had a cold and I had a cold. If we both wore masks, we probably wouldn't get, so one of us wouldn't get the cold. Like, just like, it's just a respect. Like, I have germs and you have germs and we're not going to spread them to each other. And that could, you know, and that could prevent the flu. These masks right now, it could prevent colds and other types of communicable diseases that are airborne. So it's a respect thing. If we would have worn the masks, things would have been handled differently. More testing is really important, I believe. People being aware of the results, quarantining when they should have quarantined. And I think we would have been done by the summer. We wouldn't have had, you know, as bad of a second wave. And things would have probably been opened up and the economy thriving.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to talk about politics, but two more questions. You know, I want to ask you is with Chris Cuomo and de Blasio closing down mental institutions and prisons, you know, you had insane people. One guy on a bus was a flamethrower. Yeah, it's like something out of a Mad Max movie. It's funny, but it's really bizarre. But it's kind of like we need it. Where are the police? I know the police don't really, you know, they're all political. They shouldn't be political. They're a police. They should be protecting people. Doesn't matter what they think or how they feel. You're serving the public. That's another thing. But it's kind of, we need mental institutions open.
Right. We need mental health advocacy. We need mental health facilities. I don't like to call them institutions. We need drug addiction help. We need people intervening where there are people nodding out on the streets. There's a lot of drug-induced psychosis going on. We're in a mental health crisis right now that we've never been in. I think it's been slightly ignored. You know, the economy takes over, but it all goes together. We have people have been locked down, they've relapsed. They're isolated. So any mental health issues have been exacerbated. So I think what I want to implement is, you know, people get arrested for marijuana. I want to legalize cannabis and drugs. I don't think the war on drugs has helped. I think people with addictions need medical and mental help. And we've acted like it's a criminal offense to use drugs when it's really a disease. Drug addictions are diseases and they need to be treated as such.
No, I agree with you 100%. And, you know, marijuana should be legalized. You know, California, it's legalized. Now, let me explain what I mean by legalized. Legalized is you have the right to use it, but you should use it responsibly.
Right, exactly. Like anything, like alcohol. Like people, we have alcohol is legal, but should you drink and drive? No. Should you drink too much? Probably not. Should you be arrested for drinking too much in your home? Absolutely not. Should you be careful and responsible? Yeah. One of my platforms is self-responsibility. And I learned that when I was in high school, because my high school kind of taught that we were learning to self-regulate our time schedules and our class schedules. And I believe that young people need to learn how to self-regulate, either it be if they use marijuana, if they drink, it's a part of responsibility. And if they have an addiction, to seek help, because early intervention is the best prevention.
No, I agree with you. Now, the next question I want to ask you is, I know a lot of people ask this during politics, and this is not a politic talk. I do apologize.
It's okay. No, it's what's going on right now. So thank you.
But the one thing I do want to ask is, how do you feel about universal health care? I know it works in Canada. Do you think it would actually work in the States?
I believe if we work with the drug companies, and I believe that everyone should have health care, period. I believe the quality of health care needs to go up. I think we need to work with medical professionals, the drug companies, insurance companies, all working together to find out the best solution for healthcare. And I think that healthcare should be less expensive. And I think if you're making a lot of money, you can pay into the system for your healthcare through your job. And I think that you should be able to choose your healthcare. That being said, universal healthcare should be available for people that need it. Yes, absolutely.
Now, the other question I want to ask you is, do you think, I want your honest opinion, do you think the system is broken? And as you're running for the mayor of New York City, do you think you can make it as it once was? You know, he's under a rock right now, but I liked Mayor Giuliani. He did a fantastic job.
Back in the day, he did well, yes.
Do you think no, I agree, but
when we were younger, he did well. That's funny how people change. I'm looking at New York positively. It's kind of things that go down must come up, just like the stock market does. I have a positive feeling that it's going to be a renaissance in New York in the arts. Artists are going to come back. New restaurants are going to come and make their way into the city and make a stance. I believe that we're going to have a lot of art, be it restaurants or dancing, singing, actors, comedians. I think there's going to be a lot of new small theaters. And I think that there's going to be opportunity since the cost of living has gone down and the rents have gone down. I believe that there's going to be some sort of renaissance in New York City, similar to maybe what we had in the 60s. The Bohemians will come back and there'll be art. And I think that there'll be less people in offices. I think people are working at home now. So those might be converted to medical facilities. I believe we should have more hospitals so people don't have to wait hours in New York City for like cutting their finger open or something minor. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes. I don't think they're going to happen overnight. We are in dark times right now. Businesses have closed. People have gone bankrupt. But I believe in the next few years, things recover. Things will be reborn like the phoenix, in a flame. So I'm excited for New York, actually. I don't find it all doom and gloom. I think it's going to be, sort of hard times, but I think we're going to come out of it really, really strong.
No, you're right. And it's exactly, you said the same thing my father said, that, things are not going to go back to normal, going the malls were, I'm hoping he's wrong. Unfortunately, he's usually right. But the malls will probably be dead. People, as you just said, people would be more working from home than going to office buildings. So this is kind of like, a lot of people say, you got to have robots doing your job for you, and people are going to be more at home. Unfortunately, they're like, that's so funny, that's a joke. But after all this, it's kind of like, they weren't really joking. It's more like, yes, you are seeing people where personally, I like going out, interacting. Maybe if you're interested, we can get a drink or something. I like hanging out, interacting with people, feel the human chemistry.
Me too, yes.
But who wants to stay home for the rest of their life to be a hermit?
I don't think that's going to happen. I think that people are going to appreciate their interactions. I think there's nothing like the human experience or a human customer service. People want that. I think that big businesses will probably come back and hire people. I mean, people need jobs. People don't want to talk to a computer. I hate self-checkout. It always messes up. And then someone always has to come and fix it. So no, it's not really purely computers. You need the human experience. So I believe that we're not going to be replaced by computers 100% or even 80%. I think it's going to stay the way it is with some self-checkout for quick. And then there's always somebody watching the self-checkout. So in actuality, it's just, I guess one person to like 10 different machines, but there's always a beep and someone's running into the self-checkout to fix it because you messed up. So I think that's not going to change. I believe that there's going to be smaller businesses coming, more creative businesses. And so rather than these big stores, I think small little boutique type stores are going to be in the malls and restaurants and more. I think there's going to be a greater appreciation for human contact and socialization. That's what I believe. Once we get the virus under control, people are vaccinated and the numbers go down and there are less deaths, type of thing. So I believe that it'll be a lot more, people will appreciate it more and socialize. People are going to really be excited to socialize compared to what they're doing now. They're going to be, I want to get off Zoom. I want to be in the studio. And, I used to go to radio studios all the time. Now everything is on Zoom. I had to set up a whole studio in my apartment. So it's different. Everything I do is on Zoom right now. My campaigning, my radio shows, my comedy, everything. So yeah, it's different.
Like I said, hopefully things go back to normal, but it won't completely be as normal as it is 19, right. But it'll be
It'll be a new normal. It's going to be a new normal. And nothing's going to be the same. Like when after 9/11, I don't know how old you are. I was younger, but I was enough to remember what was going on. I was grown and, it was different. New York felt different. New York City felt different. And it was a one day of tragedy. And then we had to rebuild. And then now people are still getting sick from 9/11 cancers and whatnot. And that's been a huge thing in New York. The people that worked, the first responders were dying later on because they were getting lung cancer and so on and so forth. There was like unexpected repercussions of that. So I believe that there's going to be a new normal. And even though it's going to be scary a little bit in the beginning, I believe eventually we're going to be able to get through it and get back to feeling safe, with other people. Because I think that's going to be reintegrating into society, like people that go to prison. I don't want to make a comparison, but when you reintegrate into society after being locked up for a year, it feels weird. I think that's going to be a similar situation to people that have been isolated and quarantining. People that haven't seen their friends or family, it's going to be a weird, strange feeling, and they're going to have to be prepared for that. So it's going to be different. It's going to be a different feeling. And I think that eventually people will start to adjust like anything else, and humans are malleable and we're strong. And I believe that we will get through this and come back the other side in a better way.
Absolutely. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to pass the show over to you.
I'm Penny Fine.
Hi, it's Mimi Chen.
Hi, my name is Ellen Dorsch.
Hey guys, Shauna Toth.
Hey guys, I'm Anastasia Edwards.
Hi, this is Jackie Nunez.
Hi, I'm Lily Rose Fair.
Hey guys, I'm Alexandria Denise, and you're watching Keith Andrews Show. He's doing a terrific job. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesomeness.
We're back from the commercial break. The following is brought to you by the X Zone. The X Zone now streaming live on the KeithAndrewNetWork on YouTube.com. I'm always expanding my library. Now, also, the X Zone and A Life of a Fighter. If you like X Zone, A Life of the Fighter, come to the Keith Andrew Network. Make sure to like and subscribe. But the one question I do want to ask you, every generation has a wake-up call, and unfortunately, they fall back into a coma, along lines of words. But, you look at my grandparents' generation. My grandfather served in World War II, and he had Pearl Harbor. For us, we had, and by the way, I was 13 at the time, we had 9/11. And those two big events were wake-up calls. But do you think people fell back to sleep? Now we have this, over 5 million people died. This is a big-ass wake-up call. Do you think we're going to learn something? Because this happened 100 years ago. Granted, 100 years, people, fall back to sleep and say it's never going to happen again. But 100 years later, it happened, and now with global warming, we're gonna start trending into the unknown. Do you think this is like a big flash, crimson wake-up call?
I think it is. I think that wake-up calls are different for each person individually. So where one person might really make a big change in the way they behave and their attitude towards things, another person might not. So collectively, I hope it's a big wake-up call. I hope that people change. They're kinder to each other. They appreciate their loved ones better. They're friendlier. I know it's asking a lot that people take care of themselves, their health. I have a few friends that really, over the quarantine, really got healthy. They started eating right and exercising, and they weren't prior. So I think people are going to really appreciate their health more, actually. And at the very least, their own bodies, and respect each other, respect your neighbors. And I think it's going to be, I think it's a wake-up call. I don't know what happened. I wasn't alive in 1918. 1918, I believe, was the Spanish flu. I don't know what was going on around then with people, but they got through it then. We can get through it now. We have more technology. We have, great drugs, I'm sure. I think we're going to start doing medicine differently. I think they're going to be more holistic in their approach to medicine. Doctors, I've been speaking to some doctors, but using both holistic and classic practices. They're starting to do exams where they do the whole body, and you don't have to go to a million different doctors. My friend is involved in that. So I think medicine will evolve as well, which I'm excited about. And hopefully people will take care of the environment.
No, you're absolutely right. For an example, it's unfortunate that people have to die until something comes out. And what I mean by that is my grandmother passed away from a heart attack.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Now we have medicine to help people if you're having a stroke or a heart attack.
Right.
My aunt passed away from cancer. Now it's kind of like after someone passes away, it's like, oh, by the way, we now have new medicine to prevent that. It's kind of like a sick joke, but it's you can't compare now to 100 years ago because there were no vaccines 100 years ago,
Nothing.
As far as I know. And one thing I do want to talk to you about is, do you think, I want to know how you feel about my idea. You have all these hotels. If we took all the homeless people off the street and just say, you're going to stay at this hotel, but when you're staying at this hotel, we're going to give you haircuts, we're going to bathe you, we're going to give you a job. So the hotel people will be like, yeah, it's nice you took all the homeless people off the street, but how is that going to help us? How that's going to help the hotel industry? It's saying, well, these people are going to go and get a job. And when they get a job, they will start making money.
All right. So that's a good analogy with homeless. This is the interesting thing about homeless people. There's different types of homeless people. There are people that are having a bad time. Maybe they lost their job. They're totally mentally healthy, and they just need a place to stay for a few weeks to get themselves together, right? Like an artist, somebody moving here from California, they're poor, they don't have money. Then we have people that are severely mentally ill that are probably not capable of having a job or a job that they, right now they're not medicated correctly, or they need medicine, or they need more intervention. Then we have people who are addicts that need rehabilitation and full-fledged, care in a long-term facility that helps people, recover from drug abuse. So there's all different types of housing instability. The hotel idea, it's not just, I don't have a job, I can't work, and I don't have a home. It goes much deeper than that. For the temporary, for the cold weather, that would work. Anybody staying at a hotel, but not every homeless person is dirty or smelly, or, that's not the case. A lot of people are normal, everyday people that just don't have homes. And that's also a misconception about homeless people. The idea with solving the homeless crisis is to create a sustainable living environment so they could actually live, work, be productive in society as best they can. Not, being stuck in a hotel, that's a temporary solution. Obviously, it's not a bad solution for a temporary problem. Now, there are violent homeless people, and that's what people are worried about. And the people in those situations need medical intervention as well. So the idea is to create a situation where someone can live in a home for a long-term basis. It's their home. Not, and a hotel is so you're not like dying for the evening or for the week. Also, hotels, are privately owned, and the city gives money to some of the hotels that are doing, that's up to the hotel and the city. I don't know if that's the solution because the hotel industry will come back, but I do believe we can build temporary housing and permanent housing so people can integrate back into society as someone with a home.
No, you're right. In Japan, they actually make houses out of recyclable material.
Right. Oh, there's places for everybody. I don't believe that we don't have enough space. I think that if done correctly, it's just the right people need to be in the right spaces for themselves. Now, some people can't keep up a home. They're not well enough mentally. And so that needs to be addressed. So everyone's in a very specific individual situation when it comes to homelessness. Some people don't know any other way. They've been living on the streets for years. And it's very hard living on the streets for years. There's medical problems that come with that. That also has to be addressed, not just mental health, but physical health issues. So some people might need to go into physical hospitals because they're not well. So I think that we need intervention in many different ways to end homelessness permanently. You're not just quick fixes.
No, I agree. Now, with the last 2 minutes, I'm going to pass it over to you. Was there anything you wanted to talk about? Anything you wanted to promote?
I want to promote my website, PrussmanForMayor.com, PrussmanForMayor.com. Volunteer, donate, get involved with my campaign. Let's wake New York the F up. That's my slogan. And F means for being financially stable, fiscally responsible, fun, function properly, the F train run without taking effing forever. So I grew up in New York. I'm a native New Yorker from Brooklyn, and I want to wake New York up again and make it fun. The city that never sleeps fell asleep for a little while. It needed some rest.
And the last question I want to ask you is, a lot of people will say it's going to be another year, but when do you think we can actually say, it's not officially over, but when do you think, trying to find a word for it, when you don't have to wear a mask anymore? And
well, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to answer that question. I'm not in the medical profession, but I believe when there's a certain amount of people that are immunized versus people who have immunity, I think that it's going to take a couple of months until we can feel safer, but I don't want to give that answer because I don't have it. I'm not, a professional in that. But my feeling is by this summer, it'll be less. And by next summer, it'll be probably mostly over with God's will.
Hopefully.
And medicine and people, being responsible. I believe it'll be totally over by next summer to be safe.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have a couple questions for you off the air.
Sure.
Wrapping up our talk show, how can people follow you on social media? And when I first approached, I want to be brutally honest. When I first approached you to be on my show, how do you feel now? And what do you recommend it to other people?
Oh, you're a great interviewer. I had such a great time. KeithAndrewNetWork is amazing. He's insightful. He asks great questions. And he has a great setup, like his background. And I'm appreciative that you had asked me to be a guest. I thank you very much.
No, the honor's all mine. And now for people out there, make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, #KeithAndrewNetwork. You get to see all my work. Wrapping up with an honor and privilege coming as a guest. I just want to say thank you for your time.